And so I set out to create a story of the future. It started off based on an idea that I had had when this incident with the brown lemonade litmus test first went down, and I was deciding that I wanted to be a comedian that would rival Andrew Dice Clay for the depth of my depravity. And I wrote a joke that was something along the lines of, hey, you think things are bad now? Imagine what abortion law would be like if we lived in a universe that was based entirely on marsupials. I'm sure that if folks were to go online, they might actually be able to find an audio copy of that early comedy. I'm not sure, because I get frustrated from time to time, and I tend to burn a whole bunch of stuff, kind of like my dad, when I'm just not happy with my art and I want to retool or reinvent myself. I feel sometimes ashamed for this because I also like to rag on George Lucas for his ridiculousness in going back and changing the Star Wars movies, or any artist who feels like they have to apologize for something they've created and have been ashamed for it. I've learned this lesson from Tyrion Lannister, of course, on Game of Thrones, when he says to Jon Snow that you have to know what you are and you have to wear it like armor. Well, I'm an armorer, so this struck me right between the chest blades, man. It was like, holy cow, this is exactly it. I have to accept the fact that I may not know what I am. I may be nothing but what I make myself to be. But that's empowerment, because it allows me to be whatever I want to be. Well, suddenly I understood the meaning of the golden case in Pulp Fiction. And of course, that very infamous conversation between Jules and John Travolta. That's Samuel L. Jackson talking to Vinny. It goes something like, "You want some bacon?" "Oh, no, man, I don't dig on swine." "What, are you Jewish or something?" No, I just don't eat anything that's a filthy animal." "What do you mean, filthy animal?" Well, the speech goes on in Quentin's inevitable way, or amenable style, or whatever it is. I love those big words that I don't know what they mean, because they confuse people as much as they confuse me. And it goes on to explain how there's two ways of looking at society. There's those who root within their own filth and eat their own shit. And then there's those who rise above it by recognizing what it is, the nature of it. When I say we all come into this world playing in our own shit, I mean that we begin believing the stuff that goes on in our head is more than just the voice in our head. Suddenly we start to seek reasoning for why it should exist, instead of accepting that it's just part of our simian mirror neurons. I mean, we live in a world that's monkey see, monkey do, literally. Confucius said that there are three ways we can learn wisdom. There's contemplation, the most noble. There's imitation, which is the easiest. And then there's experience, which is the most bitter. Well, why be bitter when you can examine the mistakes another person is making and not make them yourself? They say that the fool who follows is more foolish because he's failed to learn from another's irony. And I'm fully for this. If the entire world around me is rooting and living and breeding within the structure of its own shitty information, then why not examine the nature of information in order to truly look at ourselves as the living embodiment of our ideals? This is why I like Shambhala, The Way of the Spiritual Warrior, so much, is because the man who's written it, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, it looks like Chogram Trungpa, but I'm probably massacring it. I don't know, but he has a very important thought about something else, and I don't know how to pronounce that. I think you'd call it Drala. But those are living metaphors. They're ideas which occur within inside of us. And they're as simple as our reactions to everyday things. When we don't consider why we do things and we just do them, then we're a victim of that. But then again, some people look at the concept of asking why as horror, because ultimately there is no why besides the truth that we decide to make. There's a very simple reason for that. Of course,